Rain lashes against the glass like it is trying to erase something written in fate. Inside the silent penthouse, a woman quietly folds her life into a small suitcase, moving. If this emotional story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Broken Heart. Subscribe for more cinematic love stories filled with pain, truth, and powerful twists. With the calm of someone who has already made a painful decision. Somewhere in the shadows, a powerful man stands frozen, his presence heavy but his courage missing. Every second stretches like a wound that refuses to heal. Nothing is spoken, yet everything feels like it is breaking at once. And in the middle of this unbearable silence, one question hangs in the air: why is she leaving now, and what truth is pushing her out forever? A door stands half open in the quiet corridor, and behind it, voices cut through the silence like a secret being born in real time. The maid stops walking, her breath caught halfway between fear and curiosity. One voice is familiar, the cold, controlled tone of the CEO she has learned to avoid. The other is deeper, unfamiliar, carrying weight and danger she cannot place. Words fall between them like hidden knives, soft but sharp. And then, a sentence that was never meant for her ears changes everything she thought she understood about this house, and her place inside it. The maid stands frozen in the hallway, her hands slowly tightening around the cleaning cloth. Her heartbeat feels too loud in her ears. She does not move forward. She does not step back. She only listens. Inside the room, the CEO's voice is low. Controlled. I told you, not yet. A pause. The second man laughs softly. Not friendly. Not warm. That's what you said last month too. How long will you protect a truth that is already destroying you? Silence follows. The maid's fingers tremble slightly. Protect a truth. Her mind tries to make sense of the words, but nothing fits. Then the CEO speaks again, colder this time. This is not your concern. The other voice lowers. It becomes everyone's concern when she leaves again. She. The maid feels her chest tighten. Who are they talking about? A memory flashes in her mind, earlier in the day, his gaze lingering too long when he thought she wasn't looking. But she pushes the thought away. No. It cannot be her. The conversation shifts again, quieter now, harder to hear. But one word slips through clearly. Child. Her breath stops. The cloth falls slightly from her hand. Inside the room, the CEO exhales slowly, like someone carrying a weight that refuses to disappear. Just give me time, he says finally. The other man replies. Time is exactly what she doesn't have. The maid takes one slow step backward. The floor feels cold. Now. And suddenly, the house does not feel like a home at all. It feels like a secret she was never meant to hear. She turns to leave quietly, but the floorboard beneath her foot makes a soft creak. Inside the room, silence instantly falls. The CEO's voice stops mid-breath. Then. Footsteps approach the door from inside. Slow. Controlled. Getting closer. And just before the handle moves, a voice from inside says softly. Someone is outside. A sound breaks through the silence of the mansion, soft, fragile, almost forgotten. It is not a voice. It is a melody. The kind that should not exist in this house anymore. The CEO stops walking mid-step, his breath catching like something invisible has grabbed his chest. In the corner of the room, the African maid stands still, unaware that her small action has just reopened a door inside him that was sealed for years. And for the first time in a long time, his cold world hesitates. Because something impossible is happening. He is starting to notice her. The music box sits on the edge of the shelf like an abandoned memory. Dust covers its surface. The wood is old, slightly cracked at the corners. It looks useless, just another broken object in a house full of expensive things that no one truly touches. The maid does not know its history. She only knows it looks sad. Earlier, while cleaning, she had almost ignored it. But something about it stopped her hand. Not logic. Not duty. Just a feeling she could not explain. So she gently picked it up. It was heavier than expected. She turned it carefully, noticing the small broken hinge underneath. The mechanism was stuck. Without thinking too much, she sat on the floor. And fixed it. Not perfectly. Not professionally. Just carefully, like she was listening to it. Now, the room is silent again. Until. Click. A soft mechanical sound. Then music. Faint at first. Broken. Shaky. But alive. The melody fills the room like a memory waking up after a long sleep. The CEO freezes at the doorway. His eyes widen slightly. No one notices that kind of reaction from him. Not employees. Not rivals. Not even family. But now, he cannot move. Because that sound. That exact sound. Belongs to his childhood. His mother. His throat tightens without permission. The maid looks up, startled. "I'm sorry," she says quickly. "I didn't mean to." But he doesn't hear her properly. He takes a slow step forward. How, his voice is lower than usual. Unstable in a way he hates. "How did you make it work?" She looks at the music box, confused. "I just listened to it," she says softly. Then after a pause, almost like she is speaking to something alive, she adds, like it was crying. That sentence lands somewhere deep inside him. Not logic. Not business. Somewhere human. The music continues playing. Small. Broken. Beautiful. And for a brief moment, his expression softens, just slightly. Like a wall has cracked but not yet fallen. He realizes something dangerous. He is not just hearing the music. The melody suddenly stops mid-note. Silence drops hard into the room. The CEO steps closer to the music box, staring at it like it has betrayed him. Then his voice lowers, almost unsteady. "Who told you to touch this?" The maid stands still, sensing the shift. But before she can answer, a small hidden compartment inside the music box clicks open on its own. He is seeing her differently. The mansion that once felt quiet now feels like it is holding its breath. A single accusation spreads through polished corridors faster than footsteps, cold, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Somewhere behind closed doors, voices begin to rise, and trust starts to crack without warning. The African maid stands in the middle of it all, unaware that her name has already been twisted into something dangerous. And when the CEO finally hears what they are saying about her, the silence in his eyes changes for the first time. Not into protection. Not into anger. But into doubt that IT starts with a message. Then another. Then a phone call that changes the tone of the entire house. The CEO is in his office when his assistant walks in quickly, holding a tablet too tightly. "Sir, there is something you need to see." A video plays. Blurry. Edited. Carefully framed. It shows the maid near the study room. Opening a drawer. Looking inside. Nothing is clearly stolen. Nothing is proven. But the intention is enough for rumors. The CEO's expression does not change immediately. But something inside him tightens. Before he can speak, his family arrives uninvited. His uncle enters first, face serious. "She is dangerous," the uncle says sharply. "We warned you." Foreign workers like her always have hidden motives. The CEO looks up slowly. "Stop," he says calmly. But another family member steps forward. "She is using you," the woman adds. "We saw the video. She is not who you think she is." Silence fills the room. The CEO leans back slightly in his chair. His eyes are unreadable. Then he speaks. Cold. Final. I don't trust anyone. The words land heavier than expected. Even his family pauses. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the house, the maid is folding laundry. She has no idea her name is being destroyed upstairs. She only feels the atmosphere has changed. Heavier. Colder. Like the house is watching her differently. She stops for a moment. A strange feeling rises. In her chest. Not fear. Not sadness. Something closer to being unwanted. But she continues working anyway. Because she has learned one truth in life. Survival does not wait for understanding. That evening, she is called into the living room. The CEO stands by the window, his back turned to her. His voice is quiet. Too quiet. You were seen in the study room. She freezes. Then he slowly turns. His eyes are no longer soft. They are distant. Tell me the truth, he says. Or leave this house tonight. The truth should have been simple, guilt or innocence, black or white. But instead, something unexpected begins to unfold inside the cold walls of the mansion. A missing file that could destroy everything, quietly returns to its place without anyone noticing. A secret that could have ended her life in this house is instead erased by the same hands accused of breaking trust. And when the CEO finally sees what should not exist, confusion replaces anger for the first time. Because the evidence points in one direction, but her actions are pointing somewhere else entirely, that night, the house is quieter than usual. Too quiet. The maid moves through the hallway after being dismissed from the living room. Her steps are slow, controlled, but her mind is not calm. She remembers his eyes. Cold. Suspicious. Uncertain. She stops near the storage corridor and exhales softly. In her hand, she holds a small folder she picked up earlier from the study room. Not stolen. Not hidden for gain. Something else. Something dangerous. Inside it are documents, financial files that do not belong in her hands. She knows enough to understand what they mean. If this gets exposed, the CEO's company will suffer. And he will suffer with it. She looks around once. No one is watching. Slowly, she walks back toward the study room. Her movements are careful. Not fearful. Just, decisive. She places the folder exactly where she found it. Perfectly aligned. As if she was never there. Then she closes the drawer gently and steps back. Her voice breaks the silence only for herself. Not everyone close to you is your enemy. Upstairs, the CEO is still awake. Something about the situation does not sit right with him. The video. The accusation. Her silence. It does not connect. He walks down the hallway without thinking, as if pulled by something invisible. When he reaches the study room, he stops. The drawer is slightly open. Not forced. Not broken. Just, adjusted. He opens it fully. The file is there. Exactly as it should be. But his eyes sharpen. Because he knows. It was not there earlier. Someone returned it. Someone who should have taken it. A slow realization begins to form inside him. Not anger. Not trust. Something more dangerous. Confusion mixed with doubt about everything he was told. He turns suddenly. And sees her standing at the end of the hallway. She is not hiding. Not running. Just watching him calmly. For a long moment, neither speaks. Then he finally asks, voice low and tense. Why didn't you take it? She meets his eyes. Quietly, she answers. Because I am not the reason your world breaks. A pause. Then footsteps echo from upstairs. Someone else is coming. The name of a child should bring innocence. But in this house, it lands like a buried explosion waiting to rise. A single sentence changes everything the CEO thought he knew about his past, his choices, and even the woman standing in front of him. Memories he buried long ago begin to crack open in painful fragments he cannot control. The African maid stands still, her voice trembling as she speaks a truth she has carried like a secret wound. And in that moment, the line between past and present shatters completely, because the child he never knew is already part of this story. The hallway feels different now. Heavier. Like the air itself has changed. The CEO stands frozen near the study room door, his hand still hovering near the drawer. The maid is at the end of the corridor, not moving, her eyes steady but filled with something deep and painful. From upstairs, footsteps echo closer, but neither of them looks away. The silence between them stretches. Then she speaks first. Softly. Carefully. That child, she begins, then stops. Her fingers tighten together. The CEO's expression tightens slightly. What child, he asks. But even as he says it, something inside him shifts, uneasy, uncertain. The maid takes a slow step forward. Her voice lowers. That child is the reason I came here. A pause. The words do not make sense immediately. But they land like weight. The CEO's eyes narrow. Explain, he says, more controlled now. She exhales shakily. There is a child living in this city. A boy. He was not supposed to be alone. The CEO's throat tightens without warning. A memory flashes, quick, unclear, buried deep. A face he cannot fully see. A moment he never properly understood before he left that part of his life behind. No, he says instantly. That's impossible. But his voice lacks certainty. The maid shakes her head. It is not impossible. It is forgotten. The air becomes still. She continues, voice breaking slightly but still strong. The caretaker of that child is connected to my family. That is how I found out. The CEO takes a slow step forward. For the first time, his calm breaks slightly. What are you saying? He asks quietly. And then. She meets his eyes fully. And the truth finally comes out. There was a woman you left behind. And a child was born after you disappeared from that story. The world around him stops making sense. Because suddenly, nothing he believed about his past feels complete anymore. The CEO's breathing turns slow, controlled, but unstable. That's not true, he says, but his voice is weaker than he wants it to be. The maid steps closer, her eyes filled with quiet pain. I didn't come here by accident, she says softly. I came because that child is in danger. A long silence. Then she adds. And because you are the only person who can save him. From behind them, the study room phone suddenly rings. Unknown number. The CEO stares at it. And does not move. The silence after the phone rings is not empty, it is dangerous. Something is watching from behind the truth, pulling strings no one in the room can see. The CEO's anger rises like a storm finally breaking its cage, while the maid stands still, carrying a pain she has buried for years just to survive. But beneath their confrontation, something darker begins to surface. A hidden hand. A controlled silence. A deeper betrayal that neither of them expected. Because this is no longer just about a child, it is about who has been controlling their lives all along. The CEO steps forward suddenly. His calm is gone. His control is cracking. You lied to me, his voice cuts through the room like glass breaking. The maid flinches, but she does not step back. Instead, something inside her finally breaks open. Not fear. Not weakness. Years of holding everything alone. I did not lie, she says quietly at first. But he shakes his head. You hid the truth. You let me believe nothing existed. His voice rises now, sharper, heavier. The air between them feels like it might split. The maid's hands tremble slightly. Then she looks at him fully. And her voice changes. Stronger. Painful. I survived while protecting something you forgot. The words hit him hard. He stops. For a moment, confusion replaces anger. The maid takes a step forward. Her eyes are wet, but her expression is steady. You think I came here to destroy your life? She asks softly. I came because I was the only one who could still protect that child from people you don't even see. The CEO's jaw tightens. Protect from who? He asks. A pause. The maid hesitates. Then whispers. From the ones who erased his father's memory of him. A heavy silence falls. And in that silence, something shifts. Because for the first time, it is not just between them anymore. It is something larger. Something controlled. Something planned. The CEO slowly turns his head toward the study room phone. It is still lit. Still unknown. Still watching. And suddenly, he realizes. This is not a misunderstanding. Someone has been guiding every step of this story. The phone on the table rings again. This time louder. More persistent. The maid's breathing becomes uneven as she stares at it. The CEO doesn't move. Then, a message appears on the screen without warning. She is not telling you everything. Ask her about the promise she made before she came here. The maid's face goes pale instantly. And the CEO slowly turns toward her. For the first time. He is not just angry. He is afraid of what she might say next. The decision does not come with noise, it comes with silence. A silence so heavy it feels like the world has stopped arguing. The African maid stands in the middle of a breaking storm inside the house, but her mind is already somewhere far away. Not in fear, but in acceptance. Because the truth has finally revealed something worse than betrayal, control. Someone has been moving their lives like pieces on a board, watching them suffer without ever stepping into the light. And now, she understands one thing clearly, if she stays, the child loses everything. So she chooses to disappear. The house feels different now. Not quieter. Heavier. Like something inside it has finally been exposed. The CEO stands near the window, still processing everything, the message, the accusations, the child, the truth he doesn't fully understand yet. But before he can speak, the door to the study room opens. And someone walks in without permission. The CEO's trusted business partner. His family advisor. The man who has been beside him for years. He enters calmly, as if nothing is wrong. But his eyes carry something sharp underneath. The maid sees him and immediately steps back. The CEO's expression changes instantly. Why are you here? He asks. The man smiles slightly. Not warm. Not friendly. Controlled. I came because this is finally getting interesting, he says. A silence falls. The maid's breathing tightens. Something about his presence feels wrong. Too calm. Too certain. The CEO steps forward. Explain what is going on, he demands. The man tilts his head slightly. Then speaks slowly. You still don't see it, do you? He looks at the maid. Then back at the CEO. And finally says the words that break everything. Love makes you weak. I made sure she never stayed. The room freezes. The CEO's eyes sharpen instantly. What did you do? He asks, voice dangerously low. The man smiles wider now. I only removed distractions from your future. Including he. The maid's hands tremble. She finally understands. It was never just rumors. Never just misunderstanding. It was planned. All of it. The CEO takes a step forward, but stops. Because the maid suddenly speaks. Quietly. But clearly. I am leaving. Both men turn to her. She looks at the CEO one last time. And something inside her breaks softly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just final. I cannot stay where I am used as a weapon against someone else's life. The CEO's voice breaks for the first time. Don't go. But she is already moving toward the door. The villain laughs quietly behind them. She will leave anyway, he says. Because she always does when the truth becomes dangerous. The maid stops at the threshold. Her hand touches the door handle. And before she steps out, she whispers. This was never my story to survive in. Outside, headlights suddenly flash through the window. A car is waiting. And someone inside it is already expecting her. The airport feels like a place where time stops pretending to care. Announcements echo through glass walls, footsteps blur into distance, and goodbyes turn into things people regret too late. Somewhere in this chaos, a woman walks toward a gate she may never return from, carrying a truth too heavy to share. Behind her, a man fights through traffic, breaking every rule he once believed in, chasing something he finally understands too late. And the question that hangs between them is unbearable: can love reach her before the doors close forever? Traffic in Seoul is cruel. But tonight, the CEO does not care. His car cuts through lanes, ignoring honks, signals, and every rule that once defined his controlled world. His hands grip the steering wheel tightly, but his mind is somewhere else. Her face. Her voice. Her silence. He hears everything at once. She is leaving, his assistant had said. But that sentence feels too small for what is happening now. Too late. At the airport, she stands in line for departure. Her passport is in her hand. Her heart feels strangely calm. Not because she is okay. But because she has already accepted loss. A child's safety matters more than her presence. More than her feelings. More than the man she should not have started caring about. She looks once at the glass walls. Planes move outside like distant dreams. Then her phone vibrates. No name. Only a message. You did the right thing. She closes her eyes briefly. And whispers to herself. Forgive me. Outside, the CEO runs through the airport doors. For the first time in years, he is not a CEO. Not powerful. Not controlled. Just a man trying to reach someone before she becomes unreachable. He pushes through people, breath uneven, eyes searching desperately. Then. He sees her. Near the gate. Standing still. The world slows instantly. He stops running, but only for a second. Then he walks toward her, voice breaking before he even speaks. I was blind. He says. She turns slowly. And for the first time, both of them look at each other without distance. I loved you, he admits quietly, without knowing it. Her eyes tremble, but she does not step forward. Because love, in this moment, is not enough. She shakes her head slowly. Love is not enough when danger follows me, she says softly. The announcement for boarding echoes through the hall. Final call. The CEO takes a step closer, voice desperate now. Then let me face it with you. Her hand tightens around her passport. For a second, she almost breaks. Almost stays. But then. A familiar voice echoes from behind him in the crowd. Cold. Controlled. The same man from before. You're too late. The airport gate stands between two endings, one built on silence, and one built on truth finally breaking free. A single voice cuts through the tension, exposing everything that was hidden in the shadows. Lies that controlled lives begin to collapse in public view, and the man who once held power over both of them is finally seen for what he is. But in the middle of the chaos, the real battle is not revenge, it is choice. Because now, she must decide whether to walk away from pain forever, or step into a future that dares to offer her something she never believed she deserved. The airport feels like it is holding its breath. People slow down. Phones lower. Even movement feels uncertain. The CEO stands in front of the maid, but his eyes are no longer on her alone. They are on the man behind him. The villain. Calm. Smiling like nothing is wrong. But for the first time, the CEO does not stay silent. He turns slowly. And speaks. I know everything. A ripple moves through nearby listeners. The maid's eyes widen slightly. The villain chuckles softly. You know nothing, he replies. But the CEO continues. Not louder. Just clearer. I know you manipulated the accusations. I know you controlled the documents. I know you used her name to distract me from the child's truth. Silence sharpens instantly. The villain's smile fades slightly. The CEO steps forward. You used my trust. You used my company. You used her life. He pauses. Then adds, voice breaking just slightly. But it ends here. He pulls out his phone. A recording plays. Voices. Evidence. Truth unfolding in real time. The crowd around them begins to react. Whispers grow. The maid stands still, watching him, not as a CEO anymore, but as someone finally choosing honesty over control. The villain's expression tightens. For the first time, he loses balance. You think this changes anything, he says coldly. But no one is listening to him anymore. The truth is already louder. The CEO turns back to the maid. And for the first time, there is no command in his voice. Only vulnerability. I don't want control, he says quietly. A pause. His eyes soften completely. I want you. The words fall into silence like something sacred. The maid's breath trembles. Years of survival. Years of invisibility. Years of pain. All standing in one fragile moment. She looks at him for a long time. Not as a maid. Not as someone leaving. But as someone finally seen. Her voice comes out softly. Then we start again. A pause. Her eyes shine, but she does not cry. Honestly this time. The villain suddenly steps forward again, his voice sharp. You think it's over? And as security moves in behind him, he whispers something only the maid can hear. Something that makes her freeze completely. True love is not about possession, but about choosing each other even after pain.